Hello everyone, welcome. Today we're going to be going over the Titan Pokemon in Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet. Now, before we get into this, I am going to be listing these Titans in order from easiest to hardest. This is also the order I'd recommend taking them on in. However, if your Pokemon are around level 40, honestly, you could take on the first 4 Titans, or I guess technically 5 Titans, in any order you want, because you should be able to handle all of them, considering if you have the right Pokemon, of course. I will also say, I'm not going to repeat myself every single time, so I'm just going to say it now. Every single Titan, except for the Dondozo, the False Dragon Titan, has 2 stages. Now, if you beat one stage, you get sort of a checkpoint. So you can go back, and if you lose against the second stage of the Pokemon, you can go back, you go heal, come back, and you'll already be on the second stage. You don't have to redo the first stage once you beat it. At least from my experiences, let me know if you guys had a different experience down below. From what I found, that was the case. If you beat the first stage, you get a checkpoint, and you can move on to the second stage. If you were honestly able to easily handle the first stage, the second stage should be no problem. But every Titan but the False Dragon Titan has 2 stages. The False Dragon Titan actually has 3 stages, which we'll go over later in the video. But every Titan but that one has 2 stages. And again, if you beat one stage, you get a checkpoint. But with all that being said, let's get right into this. So the first Titan up is Klawf, the Stony Cliff Titan. Now Klawf is level 16 when you face it. It is a rock type, and it has the ability Anger Shell, which if you're not careful can cause a lot of problems for you. So the way Anger Shell works is when Klawf falls below half HP, it will lower its defense and special defense, but it raises its attack, special attack, and speed. So you want to be really careful, because this thing will suddenly start hitting really hard when you get it below half HP. Its moves are Rock Tomb, Rock Smash, Vice Grip, and Block. So you want to be a little bit careful with those, because Rock Tomb lowers your speed, Rock Smash can lower your defense, so you want to be careful with those moves. Klawf's weaknesses are Water, Grass, Fighting, Steel, and Ground. So those are generally the types you want to bring to this fight here. If you took Sprigatito, if you took Quaxly, honestly, you should be able to handle this Titan pretty easily, especially if they evolved at least once. You should be able to easily handle this Titan. It should be no problem for you if you took either one of those. The ones I'd recommend, the types at least, I'd recommend not bringing Fire, Flying, Ice, Bug, and also Normal, because Klawf carries Rock Smash, so that's not going to be great for your normal types. So that does leave Fuecoco a little bit in the dust, but a Pokemon that you can pick up to kind of replace that is Flamigo. It is a fantastic early game Pokemon. It's about 500 BST, I believe. It's really strong for the early game. If you can get it, and I recommend this for any Pokemon you use against Klawf, if you can get it around level 20, it'll be able to handle that easily. Double Kick is a menace on Flamigo. It's a fantastic Pokemon. It also is neutral to the rock type move that Klawf has, so it's not going to be super effective. So I would recommend Flamigo if you took Fuecoco. If you took either Quax or Sprigatito, honestly, just evolve them and you should be able to handle this Klawf pretty easily. It is the easiest of all the Titans, as mentioned, so you should be able to handle this no problem. Again, be careful with Anger Shell. It can be a little bit of a problem, but honestly, if you have the right Pokemon like Quaxly, Sprigatito, Flamigo, you can take Psyduck. That's a pretty early game Pokemon as well. You can take Pommel if you evolve it. It evolves at level 18. I believe it learns Arm Thrust by that point. You could take that. You can take Paldean Wooper as well. It is a ground type, and that is super effective against Klawf. And once you beat Klawf, you actually do get the dash for your legendary, so you're able to run around faster around Paldea, which makes life a lot easier. So I recommend doing this early. If you're planning on doing a lot of traveling, I'd recommend handling Klawf pretty early. But honestly, if you beat the first gym, you should be able to handle Klawf as well. It should be no problem for you. So that's it for Klawf. And yeah, moving on. Next up, we have Bombirdier, the Open Sky Titan. Now, Bombirdier is going to be level 20. Not much of a level jump from Klawf. From 16 to 20, it's not that big of a jump. Bombirdier is a flying dark type, and its ability is Rocky Payload. Now, Rocky Payload actually powers up rock type moves, which is why in Bombirdir's moveset, it carries Rock Throw. So you want to be really careful with that, because that's an ability boosted rock throw, so you want to be careful. It also has Wing Attack, Pluck, and Torment. For those you might not know, Torment means you can't use the same move in a row, 2 turns in a row. Bombirdier's weaknesses are Electric, Ice, rock, and fairy. I cannot recommend Kilowattrel higher for this Titan. Kilowattrel is actually great for a couple of Titans, honestly. This is the first of a few that it's actually really good for, so I'd highly recommend Kilowattrel to bring for this one. You can find Pikachu / Raichu pretty early. Well, you can find Pikachu. It should help you quite a bit. And also the Titan that you just got done beating, Klawf. Klawf actually does also help with this, especially considering it's a really good rock type, and also you can get it as a static after you beat the Titan. So every Titan, by the way, you can catch after you beat them. If you go back to where you found them, you should be able to find them just standing there. You press A on them, you can encounter them, and you can catch them. So you can bring Klawf. There's also a bunch of Klawf in the area where you find the Titan Klawf. So you can, I know I said Klawf a lot right there. So if you find it, honestly, I'd recommend Klawf as well. The Pokemon I wouldn't recommend bringing, or the types I wouldn't recommend bringing, are fighting, grass, bug, fire, ice, flying, psychic as well, because Bombirdier is dark. It doesn't have a dark attacking move, but it is immune to psychic type moves unless you have something like Miracle Eye. So I wouldn't really recommend bringing psychic types, but just kind of stick to electric, ice, rock, fairy. Electric is going to be one of the easier types for you to find around Paldea early in the game. Like I said, you find like Pikachu, you can find Palma. We talked about that in the last Titan. You can find Kilowattrel over by Lavencia on the beach. I'm sure there's plenty of other spots to find Wattrel and Kilowattrel. I recommend evolving it first. I believe it evolves around 24 or something like that. Now for Bombirdier, you want to be around that level 23, 24. You should be able to handle it pretty easily if you're that high up. You don't really want to bring flying types against this thing because of rock throw, because of rocky payload. So you want to be careful with that. You don't want to bring flying types against this thing. However, Kilowattrel is the only flying type I'd recommend bringing because it is very strong, very, very strong against Bombirdier. Now, like I mentioned earlier, to get to the Dondozo later on in the game, you do need to either surf or glide. If you want to surf, Bombirdier is the Titan you want to take on. It gives you the surfing ability for your legendary, so you're able to go around in the waters in Paldea. And again, every Titan makes your journey that much easier around Paldea. But yeah, this is what to expect with Bombirdier. Again, be wary of the rock throw. It's not the weakest Pokemon in the world. It's actually fairly strong, but it is only level 20. So if you're a little bit higher level than that, again, 24, 25, something like that, you should be able to handle this thing pretty easily. It shouldn't be much of a problem. Again, bring a really good electric type, really good ice type, which you can't find many of those early in the game, or bring something like Klawf. You can find Klawf fairly early in the game, so I'd recommend something like that as well. Moving on, we have Orthworm, the Lurking Steel Titan. Now, this is the first big level jump we have with the Titans. Orthworm is level 29. It is a pure Steel type, and it has the ability Earth Eater, which is actually really good for this Pokemon because it eliminates one of its weaknesses and only gives it 2 weaknesses, which we'll go over in a second. I'll go over why Earth Eater is a bigger deal later on in a second here. Its moveset is Iron Tail, Headbutt, Wrap, and Sandstorm. So you want to be a little bit careful with this one because it is all about trapping you in, dealing residual damage. So if you're not careful with this Pokemon, it can do a lot of work to you in terms of just constantly doing damage even when it's not attacking, because the Sandstorm will hurt you, the Wrap will hurt you, Headbutt can flinch you, so you can take even more damage without dealing damage. So you want to be careful with Orthworm. It's not the most difficult Pokemon in the world, I will say that, but you want to be careful with those moves with Wrap, Sandstorm, that combination there. Now its weaknesses are fire and fighting. Like I mentioned, another weakness that would have normally had is ground. However, what Earth Eater does is if Orthworm gets hit by a ground type move, Orthworm will heal instead of taking damage. So you do not want to bring a ground type, or at least you don't want to use ground type moves, because they're not going to be good against Orthworm. You're only going to be healing it, you're only going to be helping it. There's no point in bringing ground type moves to try and fight this thing. However, you can bring fighting Pokemon. If you took Quackleval at the beginning, or if you took Quaxly, it evolves into Quackleval, you can take this thing on. I'd recommend evolving it into Quackleval first, which is at level 36, because it gets the fighting type added to it, and you'll also have low kick. So you definitely, I definitely recommend evolving it, getting it to level 36 first, so that way it'll be able to deal with Orthworm a lot easier. However, Orthworm's defense is actually pretty good. It's really good, actually. However, on the flip side, its special defense is hot garbage. It is not good. So what I would recommend more so is to take a really good special attacking fire type. If you took Fuecoco at the beginning, honestly, even Crocolore should be able to handle this, but I'd recommend also getting it to Skeledirge because of its signature move. It is Torch Song, which raises its special attack, so you're going to be hitting really hard. Yeah, so if you have special moves, a special attacking fire type is what I'd recommend. There's not many special attacking fire type fighting types, so that's why I'd recommend more so to look for a fire type. You have Pokemon like Houndoom, again, Fuecoco if you took it. You have Pokemon like Arcanine, also have a decent special attack as a fire type. So you definitely want to take those sorts of Pokemon to deal with this thing, because again, its special defense is garbage. It's really not good at all. So if you have a really good special attacking fire type, you should be able to handle this pretty easily. I'd also recommend other high special attackers like Kilowattrel. I used the level 34 35 Kilowattrel, I believe, when I first faced it, and Electro Ball destroyed this Orthworm. So you just want a really high special attacker that isn't Fairy, Ice, or Rock. And you should honestly be able to handle this thing pretty well. It does resist quite a few things, so you want to be mindful of that. But I'd recommend, above all else, a really good special attacking fire type. Again, if you took Fuecoco, you should have Crocolore by this point. I'd also recommend getting it to Skeledirge again, but you should be able to handle it if you took Fuecoco pretty easily. Even Quackball, I know I said its defenses are really high, but if you take a really good fighting type like Quackball, like Tauros, Paldean Tauros, Hariyama, you should still be able to handle this thing. It's not the most difficult Titan in the world. It's kind of a weird middle child Titan. It's not that difficult, to be honest. Again, just be mindful of the Wrap Sandstorm combination and don't use any ground type moves because you're just going to be healing it. Now, if you beat Orthworm, you actually get the high jump for your legendary, which is really nice. It's, if you haven't gotten the climbing yet, high jump is the next best thing. It allows you again to travel around a lot easier. You can get to those high ridges a lot easier as well. It's a pretty big boost. It's like 3 times your normal jump height, I would estimate. So it's really good. So I recommend taking on Orthworm as soon as you can, because it's a really nice upgrade to have for your legendary. Now, next up, we have the version exclusive Titans. I'm going to be going over the Great Tusk first. Great Tusk is exclusive to Pokemon Scarlet. So if you're in Pokemon Scarlet, this is the Titan you're going to be taking on. Now, the Great Tusk, the Quaking Earth Titan, that's such a cool name, is level 45. So this is a massive jump from Orthworm, not only in terms of level, but also in terms of difficulty. These two Titans right here are actually fairly difficult. These are the ones I personally had the most trouble with. So yeah, you want to be really careful with this one. Again, the level jump is insane. It goes from 29 to 45. That's a 16 level jump. Not to mention, they are much stronger than Orthworm. Now, Great Tusk is a ground fighting type, and its ability is Protosynthesis. Now, what this means is that it boosts the Great Tusk's best stat in the sun. So, at all costs, avoid setting up the sun. Do not set up the sun. Do not bring a drop Pokemon. Do not use Sunny Day. Don't do anything like that, because you're only going to make Great Tusk stronger. Either it's going to get its attack boosted or its defense boosted. Either way, it's big trouble. So you want to be really careful with this thing. Do not set up the sun no matter what. Do not set up the sun. Okay, I just can't stress that enough. Do not set up the sun. It will not help you. It will only hurt you. Now, the Great Tusk's moveset is Knockoff, Rapid Spin, Brick Break, and Stomping Tantrum. Now, Brick Break gets rid of your screens, so there's no point in really setting up screens because it's just going to cancel it out. Rapid Spin is a bit of a problem because it raises the Great Tusk's speed, so you want to be careful with that as well. And Knockoff will get rid of your items. Stomping Tantrum is just a really strong move for it. The Great Tusk attack stat is nuts. So you definitely want to bring something that can try and take it out pretty quickly. Otherwise, you're going to be taking a lot of damage. Also, bring heals. Make sure you're stacked up on heals, because trust me, you're going to need them for this fight, unless you bring the right Pokemon, which we'll go over in a second. The Great Tusk's weaknesses are Water, Grass, Ice, Flying, Psychic, and Fairy. I wouldn't recommend bringing a Psychic type, however, because it does have Knockoff. So would not recommend bringing a Psychic type because it will get destroyed. Everything else, though, is pretty fair game. If you have Masquerada, I also would recommend bringing that because it does have Brick Break, and that will hurt Meowscarada quite a bit. So I wouldn't really recommend that, but any other grass type will do. Ice as well, I wouldn't recommend bringing because of Brick Break. Otherwise, a good water type, good grass type, a good flying type, and a good fairy type will help you against this thing. It is strong against electric. It's immune to electric. It's strong against fire, poison, rock, steel, ice, normal, dark, and psychic because of Knockoff. It's got a lot of things that can hurt. So I'd recommend, there's a very small group of Pokemon that I'd recommend bringing. Above all else, I know I keep saying it, Kilowattrel. I'd recommend getting Air Cutter on it, or Air Slash, a special flying type move, and making sure your Quackaball special attack is really good. Or not your Quackaball, your Kilowattrel special attack is really good. Because an Air Cutter and Air Slash will hurt this thing big time. Because Great Tusk's special defense is, much like Orthworm, hot garbage. Is not good. So if you have a very strong special attacking flying type, doesn't necessarily have to be Kilowattrel, I'm just recommending it because it's pretty easy to find. But if you just have a really good special attacking flying type with a really good special attacking flying move, you can hurt this thing big time, and you can try and handle it as quickly as possible, like I said earlier. I actually used Palma in this one as well, and it didn't do too bad. I really only sent it in to do as much damage as possible before it died, which is not the worst strategy in the world. You want to do as much damage as possible and then send in something else to hurt it. There's also Quackaball, which is really nice against this thing as well. Honestly, I just would recommend a really good, super effective special attacker, either water type, grass type, flying, or fairy. I'd recommend any of those. A really good special attacking from one of those, because it will do a lot of damage to this thing, and it will really hurt Great Tusk. And the goal for Great Tusk is just to get rid of it as quickly as possible before it starts really doing damage to you, or more specifically before it starts using Rapid Spin, because that's a bit of a problem too. So yeah, those are the Pokemon I'd recommend. A really good super effective special attacker, but more specifically something like Kilowattrel, a really good flying type with a really good flying type move, a special flying type move will help you a lot with this one. Now, for those of you in Pokemon Violet, you're going to be taking on Iron Treads. Now, this one's a little bit different. This one focuses a little bit more on the defensive side. It focuses a little bit more on being a wall to your Pokemon, whereas Great Tusk was more about the offense. This one's a little bit more about the defense. It can still hit you really hard though. Iron Treads is level 45, much like its counterpart is. However, it is ground steel, which adds a lot more resistances to this thing. Its ability is Quark Drive. So much like you want to avoid setting up the Sun against Great Tusk, you do not want to set up the electric terrain against Iron Treads, because it will only help this thing. So avoid at all costs setting up electric terrain. You do not want that to happen, much like you do not want the drought to get set up in front of Great Tusk. No electric terrain, no electric terrain, no electric terrain. It will only hurt you in this battle. Its moves are very similar to Great Tusk. It's got Knockoff, Rapid Spin, Iron Head, and Sopping Tantrum. So instead of Brick Break, it's bringing Iron Head, which can be a bit annoying since Iron Head can flinch. This thing is weak to fire, water, fighting, and ground. I'd recommend bringing anyone from those types, because it does not have moves that are super effective against those types. Unless they're dual types, then that's a little bit of a problem. But its resistances. Now, I didn't write this down for any of the Pokemon, but this one has a ton of resistances. It resists normal, it's immune to electric, it's immune to poison, resists flying, psychic, bug, rock, dragon, steel, and fairy. 10 resistances. That means 10 out of the possible 18 types in this game this thing resists. So you want to be really careful with your selection here. It is also strong against fire, electric, poison, rock, steel, ice, fairy, and psychic because of knockoff. So I wouldn't, actually I take it back. I would not recommend bringing fire types. That is the one type that is weak to that I would not recommend bringing, because it will destroy fire types. So some good Pokemon, similarly to Great Tusk, kind of. Quackaball can handle this thing pretty well. Palmot can handle this thing pretty well. You want to find a good special attacking water type. Like I mentioned earlier, Psyduck is in the game. You could find Eevee pretty early in the game, and if you find a Water Stone, which I should be having a video coming out soon for that, if you find a Water Stone, then by all means go ahead and get Vaporeon. That should help a lot too. So you want a good special attacking, super effective Pokemon. So really good special attacking water type, or ground type, or even a fighting type. Gastrodon also is another really good Pokemon to bring here. So I'd recommend something along those lines against Iron Treads. Like I said, they're kind of similar in terms of how you should deal with them. However, they sort of specialize in different things. Like I said, Great Tusk will hit you harder. Iron Treads will defend a lot better. Not to say, again, Iron Treads can still hit you really hard, but Great Tusk hits you a lot harder. However, Iron Treads resist a lot more. So there are balances between these two. They're not fun to deal with. Again, these are probably the more difficult ones of all the Titans. But again, if you have Quackaball, you should be able to handle both of them. Palma is actually not the worst thing in the world to go against these things. Kilowattrel against Great Tusk, a good super effective special attacker against both of them. Like honestly, I can't recommend Gastrodon highly enough. It's actually, it handles both of these pretty well. I wouldn't recommend something like Toxapex because it is weak to ground. So if you can find a pure water type that's has a good special attack like Golduck, or like I said, I already forgot its name, the other Pokemon I just, Gastrodon, then you should be able to handle this thing pretty easily. The goal again is just to get it off the field as quickly as possible, because you can take advantage of its bad special defense, which is exactly what you want to do. So take a really good super effective special attacker and you should be able to handle these two Titans pretty easily. I'd recommend a water type above all else. Now when you beat these Titans, they actually give you the gliding. So this is the other way you can get to Dondozo, which we'll talk about in a second, is gliding. You can glide down to Dondozo. So it's not the best feature in the world. If you played Legends Arceus, it's not the same. It's actually pretty similar. You just kind of glide. Like, you're just kind of doing this and eventually it'll drop you off. It's just kind of good for getting across, you know, ravines and stuff. It's not the best feature in the world, especially considering how difficult these Titans are. But it's not terrible. It helps you get, helps you get across Paltea easier. So our final Titan here is the Dondozo, the False Dragon Titan. Now this is the only fight in the game, or the only Titan Pokemon fight in the game that has 3 stages to it. All the other ones are 2-stage. This one is 3 stages. So to start with, you're going to be taking on the Dondozo first. It is level 56. It is a pure water type, and it has Oblivious, which means it can't be infatuated, which means you can't make it fall in love with your Pokemon, and also it doesn't fall for taunts. So that's what Oblivious does, so I guess avoid those sorts of things. Its moveset is Aqua Tail, Body Slam, Water Pulse, and Knockoff. Water Pulse is annoying because it confuses you, Body Slam is annoying because it paralyzes you, and Knockoff gets rid of your items. It's actually becoming a fairly common move here with the Titans. Its weaknesses are, because it is pure water type, its only weaknesses are Grass and Electric. So you want to bring something from those 2 types, because it doesn't have anything to do with those 2 types, really. It is strong against Fire, Rock, Ground, and Psychic because of Knockoff. I wouldn't really recommend bringing a Psychic type for this one. Again, I can't recommend this Pokemon enough. Kilowattrel destroys this because the Dondozo is slow, so Electro Ball will do a lot of damage, and it also does not have a good special defense. So Kilowattrel with Electro Ball will wreck this thing if you're at its level. If you're below it, it might not do as much, but it should still do a lot, because Electro Ball again is based off speed, and you will outspeed this thing tenfold. So Electro Ball is going to do a lot, and also it has a terrible special defense. So Kilowattrel I would highly recommend. Meowscarada, if you took Sprigatito at the beginning, I would recommend that as well. Raichu, Lilligant, you just want to really, again, similarly to the other Titans that we just went over, you want a really good super effective special attacker. It will really help. You can bring a physical attacker. This thing does have a lot of HP, and its defense is not terrible, so I wouldn't really recommend a physical attacker, but you can still bring it. It's just to be able to handle this thing. But again, Kilowattrel is the main Pokemon you want to bring here. It's really, really good. Again, though, there's other Pokemon you can also bring, not just Kilowattrel. Like I said, Raichu, Lilligant, a really good physical, or not special, super effective Pokemon is what you want to bring, not physical, special. Now, once you get through both stages of the Dondozo, this is when it gets a little tricky. The Tatsugiri that it eats actually survived. Yay, kind of. And now you have to face it. It eats whatever, it eats the Herba Mystica, becomes a Titan. So now you have to face the Tatsugiri. This is the 3rd stage of this battle here. It is a water dragon type. Its ability is useless. Its commander, it's only useful if there's a Dondozo there. There's no Dondozo, so you don't have to worry about that. I thought it would have been really interesting if the Dondozo got a boost from the Tatsugiri, and that would have been the 3rd stage. But regardless, it has commander. It's a useless ability for Tatsugiri in this fight. It does get a little bit of a level boost just by 1. It's level 57. The only moves I saw it use were Muddy Water, Taunt, and Icy Wind. If you guys saw it use a 4th move, let me know in the comments down below. I'll go ahead and pin it. If you saw it use a 4th move. I didn't see a 4th move. I battled it. My brother-in-law battled it. We didn't see a 4th move. Those are the only 3 moves we saw: Muddy Water, Taunt, and Icy Wind. So Icy Wind, you want to be a little bit careful with that one if you're planning on bringing a dragon type to this, because Icy Wind will hurt your dragon type. This thing is weak to dragon and fairy. Also, if you find a Pokemon with freeze dry like Glalie will manhandle this thing pretty easily. To be honest, if you can find a Pokemon with freeze dry, it will handle this Pokemon really easily as well. It is strong against ground, rock, fire, and dragon. Like I said, Icy Wind does hurt dragon types, and then Muddy Water will hurt the rest of those types I just listed off. Some recommended Pokemon here, I'd recommend Tinkaton a lot. This Tatsugiri's physical defense, it kind of flips from the Dondozo. This Tatsugiri's physical defense is not that good. It's really not good at all, to be honest. So Tinkaton with Play Rough should be able to handle this thing easily. Also, it doesn't really take too much damage from the Tatsugiri as well. So you're able to dish without really taking any damage. I know I said be careful with dragon types. Haxorus is not the worst dragon type to bring. It's a really hard hitter. You should outspeed this thing, I believe, and you should be able to deal a lot of damage to it. Again, you will take some damage from Icy Wind, but Haxorus should be able to kill it before it can kill you. And also, like I said earlier, ice types with freeze dry like Glalie will really help against this thing as well. Another Pokemon like Grimmsnarl. Grimmsnarl is a physical fairy attacker, so you can bring Grimmsnarl as well. You can find that in the thicket, the forest that's by the poison type base. So I'd recommend Grimmsnarl as well. Just a good physical, super effective physical attacker. It's different from the other ones that we just went over, because you want a good physical super effective Pokemon. So a dragon type, fairy type will really help with you. And again, an ice type with freeze dry like Glalie will really help as well. Now, if you beat Dondozo / Tatsugiri, you get probably one of the better ones, if not the best upgrades to your legendary. You're able to climb, which helps a lot. Getting over mountains and stuff cuts a lot of time from traveling and all that. So climbing is the reward for beating this legend, or this Titan. And this is, of course, the final Titan in the game. And that's it for all the Titan Pokemon in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Honestly, the Titan Pokemon are not the most difficult thing in this game to deal with, as long as you are prepared and as long as you know what's coming your way, which was the point of this video, try and help you prepare for these Titan battles. I would say that honestly, Iron Treads and Great Tusk are probably the most difficult Titans. So definitely take your time with those ones. The Dondozo's not the worst, it's just really high level. That's the biggest problem with it. But I would say in particular prep for the version exclusive Titans, because they are honestly, in my opinion, the toughest ones. But if you're prepared, these Titans should be a breeze for you. There should be no problem. And again, they also help you get around Paldea easier, so you do want to get around to doing these Titans pretty quickly in the game. If you guys have any extra tips, tricks, let me know down below. If I maybe missed anything in this video, let me know down below as well. I'll have a pinned comment with my mistakes, which is probably inevitable, as well as some extra tips to help you guys with the Titans. So let me know down below your thoughts on the Titans. Let me know your thoughts on this whole storyline. There is an extra battle past the Titans against Arvin, but I didn't really want to get into that today. So if you need extra tips for that, let me know. Maybe I'll make a separate video for that. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If this video helped you at all, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And of course, be sure to share socials with our friends, family, everyone you know. Let people know when here is where it's at. We'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.